Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Play Chaos Head. Yes, I'd lost consciousness. And then afterward, how did I end up in this hospital? I couldn't remember. At least, I didn't think I'd come here on my own 2 feet. Maybe I'd been carried over by an ambulance? Hazuki-san was writing something down on the clipboard she carried. It must have been holding paper or something. Was she writing about my condition? I confirmed the time by peering at the plain-looking watch on her wrist. After 6 a.m., I must have slept for quite a while. Even so, why had I been taken to the hospital? Hazuki-san being here meant that this was the hospital I usually went to. There certainly wasn't anything strange about them bearing me to a general hospital. But something about it didn't quite fit together. The question of why has Hazuki-san come to check on me, nagged at me. After all, Hazuki-san was a psychiatric nurse. If she had come to look in on me, didn't it mean that this room was part of the psychiatric ward as well? Eyes wide, Hazuki-san studied my face instantly.
まさか西条さんが目覚めるなんて。
Her way of putting it made it sound like it was strange for me to have woken up. Was she being sarcastic? Did she want to say that someone as shameful as me would cause less trouble for everyone around me if I stayed asleep for the rest of my life? Having even the nurse imply such things to me made me seriously want to die. Yet the fact of which Hazuki-san spoke were unexpected and utterly different from what was imagining.
あなたはこの1ヶ月近くずっと昏睡状態だったんですよ。原因不明のまま眠り続けていたんです。
What had she just said? How long was a month ago?
今日って。
落ち着いて聞いてくださいね。今日は10月28日です。
October 28th. It matched the date in my memory. 1 month earlier would mean ever since the time I'd witnessed the staking. I went speechless.
あ、そうだ。先生に伝えないといけませんよね。こんなにのんびり検温してる場合じゃなかったわ。ここで待っていてくださいね。すぐに先生を呼んできますから。
After rattling this off without leaving any room for an answer, Hazuki-san dashed hastily out of the hospital bedroom.
僕が1ヶ月昏睡状態だった。
I muttered dazedly, looking down at the palm of my hand. In other words, everything from the past month had been a dream. I couldn't possibly have anticipated that it was all a dream twist. But mysteriously, there was nothing unpleasant about it. I had a surprisingly easy time accepting it when I heard it had been a dream. When I thought about it harder, things like these sorts and making delusions real were simply impossible. Everything had been an illusion, purely delusions of my own creation. It was too bad that meeting Remy had been a dream, but Shogun wasn't targeting me, and I hadn't become the laughingstock of all of Japan, and Nanami hadn't been abducted. Thank goodness.
よかった。
My field of sight blurred, and when I looked up to keep from crying, Hazuki-san entered. Her eyes went a bit round when she saw me.
あら。西条さん、目が覚めたん
What
です
the
ね。
fuck? What? She soon gave me a gentle smile. Puzzled, I found myself unable to move.
お体の調子はどうです
What in
か？
the hell? Are we in an unstable time loop? Hazuki-san held a thermometer out to me. The gesture came naturally to her. I just added sort of I just ended up taking it.
体温を測ってくださいね。
I gulped as I accepted the thermometer. It was the same. We were repeating the same thing as before. Hazuki-san acted like she'd entered the room for the first time. I tentatively felt at my armpit. I'd stuck a thermometer in there just a second ago. Despite that, gone. The thermometer had disappeared. Had it been delusionary? Where did the delusion end and reality begin? My being targeted by Shogun and becoming the laughingstock of all Japan, were those reports real? My mood dropped toward depression in the blink of an eye.
昨日ご家族がお見えになっていたんですけど、西条さんの意識が戻らないので、日付が変わる頃にお帰りになりました。今日は診察時間が始まる頃にお母様が来るそうですよ。
Lacking the energy to answer, I nodded at her. Mom, I must be the most disgraceful son in Japan. No, in the whole world. I've been broadcast on live TV of all things. My moment of shame had aired throughout the nation of Japan. It had definitely been uploaded to YouTube too. I had no clue why I'd been set up as a miracle Esper boy. On top of that, it was abnormal for them to do a live broadcast of my every little move on the day of such an enormous earthquake. Excuse me. I could only assume that everyone really did have their minds controlled by Shogun. In any case, I'd been publicly disgraced. This wasn't something mild enough to stop at an online lynching. Would I be able to live uneventfully from now on? Suddenly, Nanami's face rose at the back of my mind. I bit my lip and clenched at my knees. Even so, if I had been able to help Nanami, none of it would have been a problem. I wouldn't have minded even if everyone in the world laughed mockingly at me, saying, "What a pathetic guy," for the rest of my life. But I hadn't even been able to save Nanami.
なな
Great big tears poured out of me.
どうしました？どこか痛みます？
I went on weeping as I shook my head over and over. Nanami was dead. Nanami would never come back. It was my fault. My fault, my fault, my fault! Because I was useless. Nanami had died. Ghost by Seraton's, rather, my weak heart's word. I'd been in a rush to give up on obtaining my D-sword. I'd viewed myself as a poor little victim. I'd chosen to stay alive, even at the cost of sacrificing Nanami. I loathed my no-good self from the bottom of my heart. If, back then, if I had tried only a little harder, even though it had been my own delusion to give up, even though it had been my own decision to give up, I looked back when everything was already done with and regretted my actions. That was the absolute worst thing about me. Thoughts wouldn't save anyone. Even so, I couldn't help thinking along these lines. I try a little harder. Yawn number one. Thank you. I try a little harder. If only I could rewind time and go back. Although if I actually did go back there, I'd surely make the same excuses and give up again. I'm always like that. I truly was beyond helping.
ななみごめんななみ
Hazuki-san rubbed my back as though to soothe me. I was a hopeless guy, true and true. I was even giving an unrelated nurse a hard time. But my tears wouldn't do me the favor of stopping.
何か後悔していることがあるんですね。でもきっと妹さんも許してくれますよ。
How did she know Nanami was my little sister? Besides, I didn't need such a time-worn words of comfort. Sorry, Hazuki-san, but it's It's not like another person is going to understand what I feel like. I truly detested and felt ashamed of myself, always being spoiled by others, only thinking of myself. A person like me ought to die. Maybe I should seriously give death a try.
昨日もしきりに西条さんのことを心配していましたよ。とても可愛らしい妹さんですね。
What are you saying?
ナナミは妹は死にました。
Abducted by Shogun, with her arm cut off, confined somewhere. In the end, she had probably died alone. My heart seemed about to tear asunder when I imagined it.
そうなんですか？ごめんなさい、勘違いしてしまって。
Until now, I always thought Nanami was obnoxious, but when you got down to it, we were siblings who'd been raised together for 16 years. She'd always fretted over me, even while calling me an idiot and a stupid head. She'd been loud and persistent because she was constantly attempting to bring me out of my life of dissipation. When she brought provisions from home, instead of just chucking them at me, she invariably tried to eat them together with me. Usually, a girl of her age would totally ignore a creepy otaku brother like me. Nanami spoke ill of me, but she spoke to me all the same. She listened to what I had to say as well. Even at school, far from avoiding me, she'd come up to me of her own accord. Yawn number 2. Even with an otaku freak and a virgin like me, Nanami always saw me as her only big brother, and an individual human being. Her existence had been a huge source of support for me, though it was too late to realize it now.
でも、だとしたら鬼ってどういう意味なのかしら。
Huh? Not quite comprehending what she'd said, I raised my head. The blurriness of tears made it hard to see Hazuki-san's expression. What had she said just now?
眠ってる西条さんを鬼、鬼と何度も呼んでいたから、その印象が強くて。
A person who calls me that. There's only one.
それ本当ですか？
I unthinkingly sprang out of my bed and pressed in on Hazuki-san.
はい、何がです？
妹がナナミがここに来てたんですか？
いえ、はっきりお名前を聞いたわけでは。
僕のこと鬼って呼んでたんですね。
ええ。
ナナミは今どこに？
ですから昨日はお帰りになりましたけど、西条さんのお母様と一緒に。
怪我とかしてませんでしたか？
はい。いえ、特には。
元気だったんですね。ナナミは元気だったんですね。
はい。いえ、ななみさんかどうかはわかりませんけど、昨日いらしていた女の子は元気そうでしたよ。
Nanami was alive. As far as I could tell from Hazuki-san's words, there was no mistaking it. Stupefied, I sat down on my bed. How on earth? Even though Shogun said he won't give Nanami back unless I cleared the quest, surely he hadn't sympathized with us and just released her. Or had Nanami escaped under her own power? But then, how was I supposed to explain the hand that had gotten sent to me? According to Hazuki-san, Nanami hadn't been injured at all.
もしかしたら君の家に送ったあの手首は別人のものかもしれないよ。
Those words hadn't been a lie. I'd been dancing on the palm of Shogun's hand. Oh, what a feeling, dancing on the ceiling. Man, my voice is getting tired of reading all this motherfucking text. Heyo. He'd only been deceiving me. No, At this point, I didn't care a bit about getting deceived.
そっか。
I see. That's how it was. That's how it was. Nanami had never been kidnapped from the start. Whilst I desperately tried to grasp onto my D sword at O front, Nanami must have been lazing around at home reading manga or going to karaoke with her friends and showcasing her shitty zinging voice. Zinging? Flight of the Zingers? Flight of the Singers? Ugh. With their shitty singing voice. There we go. That wasn't too hard. Despite the fact that I was crying, laughter bubbled up inside me.
西条さん？
将軍にまんまと騙された。なんという壮大な釣りだよ。
Nanami was alive. She was alive. I could see that goddamn impotent face of hers again. I could hear her yappy, annoying voice. The thought of it filled my whole heart with relief, and joy surged through me.
よかった。
My tears wouldn't stop, but these weren't the tears of frustration I'd wept previously.
よかった。
I was a useless guy, beyond all salvation. Yesterday, too, I'd given up on trying to do something about it with my own strength. But even so, as long as Nanami were alive, I wouldn't seek anything else. Like I'd cared if the rest of the world mocked me with its laughter. I was truly glad. That's y'all number 4 because you couldn't hear the last one. But weren't we in a delusion just now? That's fucked up. Another investigation meeting was convened in the Shibuya Police Department's conference room today. All of the detectives were exhausted and looked exasperated at the thought of how many hours this fruitless meeting might continue. Around when Matsunaga began listening to the individual investigators' reports, Bun unexpectedly raised his hand and gingerly stood up.
ちょっといいですかね。
なんだね。
Not only Matsunaga, but the other detectives and also Sua, who had been sitting beside Bun, listened to him with Dubois expressions. Yes, okay, I should explain that Dubois is actually a reference to the gaming Cabana. He has a channel, he used to be called Modern Day Akatsuki Man, but one time he was doing a Let's Play of a visual novel, which was one of the whatchamacallit, Ace Attorney series, Phoenix Wright, and he was doing a visual novel of that series, as I said, and he had to read a word, and that word happened to be dubious, but it must have slipped his mind that it is also an English word, and he pronounced it as Dubois, which is not written like that, mind you. But still, so every time you hear the Dubois, it's going to be a reference to the Gaming Cabana. Check out his channel. He now hosts it with his brother called Gara something something because I can never remember the numbers. Wearing his usual frivolous and friendly smile, Bun gave them a quick bow with his head, then looked round.
先日インターネット上に投稿されたいわゆる集団ダイブの映像についてなんですが、実はちょっとした発見をしまして。
Sua wore a face of blatant surprise. It was expected because Bun had investigated the film without saying a single word about it to Sua, who he was supposed to have paired up with. I swear, this dude, this bitch-ass motherfucker, I don't trust him. I swear. The shogun that was speaking on the rooftop sounded exactly like him. This guy is trouble. Keep in mind, this is also the first time I've played this. So it is blind for me as well. Well, played. I guess it's interactive, so I'll call it a game, but technically it's just a novel. Like it fucking says so. Then again, the reason for it was that it wasn't that he wanted to keep it secret from Sua, but rather...
バン警部補、君は確か貼り付けの捜査担当だったはずだが、なぜ集団ダイブについて調べている？
Well, that was pretty much what it came down to. Bun had taken independent action, ignoring instructions from the headquarters, and if he got Sua involved in it, a young detective with a bright future ahead of him would get tied down by his superiors. He'd avoided that.
まあ、とりあえず見てくださいって。
Laughing foolishly, Bun took 2 elongated photos from a file close at hand. He stuck them to the blackboard with magnets.
これはどっちも集団ダイブの現場となったコーネリアスタワー屋上の写真です。
What? The fuck?
右の写真は例のミュウツベ投稿映像から抜き出したもの。左のは昨日の夜、私がタワー屋上に行って撮ってきたものになります。何か違いに気づきませんか？
Yeah, no shit. His demeanor full of insinuations. Bun slowly surveys the large conference room before finally looking straight at Matsunaga.
君は弁護士にでもなったつもりかね？要点を分かりやすく説明したまえ。
Next to Bun, Sua kept craning his neck, nor did the other detectives make any effort to hide their confusion. Oh, what's the fucking difference? What is this? Dora the Explorer? Wake the fuck up. Look at this shit. The video doesn't have the fucking tower, this one has the fucking tower. It's that fucking simple.
背景がね、違うんです。
You can clearly see some of the shit is lower.
投稿映像のカメラは北東へ向かってる。5人が転落したのが北東だったから間違いない。で、映像では3分29秒から約15秒間、カメラが左右へ大きく触れるんですが、その時に東に向いた時の映像がこの右側の写真なわけです。コーネリアスタワーの東、つまり六本木方面ですね。東京タワーが夜景の中にしっかり映ってる。赤いから目立ちますね。でもね、もう一つよく目立つものが映ってないんですよ。
よく目立つもの？
Jesus Christ, man. Eyes narrowed, stroking the scraps of his beard on his jaw with his hand, Bun put on a self-deprecating smile.
六本木ビルズですよ。
あ、
Oh my god, I'm fucking blind! Ugh! Ah! Otacon! The conference room burst into a commotion, for they were all blind idiots and fools who had somehow become investigators. What the hell, man? Yup. Indeed. One couldn't see the light of Roppongi Bill's building in the photo taken from the uploaded video. The photo Ban had snapped yesterday, on the other hand, had clearly captured both Tokyo Tower and the lighted windows of Roppongi Hills.
で、
Sorry.
たまたま見つけたんですが、コーネリアスタワーのホテルロビーにタワー完成当時のパネルが展示してありましてね。 そのパネルの一つがこれ。
Oh boy, let me guess. It fucking resembles this motherfucker. Bun took a new photo out of a file and stuck the two photos next to each other. It too was a picture of the Roppongi view from the roof of the tower, but it was a daytime photograph and not a night one.
六本木ビルズが映ってますよね。建設中ですが。
The rumble in the conference room swelled. Matsunaga fell silent and regarded the photos sternly.
コーネリアスタワーの完成は2001年。六本木ビルズの完成は2003年。タワー完成当時の写真では当然ながら六本木ビルズは建設中でまだ高さもほとんどない。だが集団ダイブが起きたのは今年2008年で映ってなきゃおかしいですよね。六本木ビルズ。ちなみに投稿映像に細工された形跡はなかった。
つまり何が言いたいんだ。
As though losing his patience, Matsunaga urged him on in a grumpy sounding voice.
非常に言いにくいんですが。
まさか先輩、この映像が撮られたのは2003年以前、つまり5年以上前って言いたいんですか？
Oi, oi, Sua. Bun's shoulders dropped, crestfallen. Sua had said exactly what he meant to imply, and he admired this young detective's mental sharpness and discernment. But when you stated it straight up like that, it couldn't help but seem much more sketchy. Bun's prudence about whether or not to say it had returned to the earth, ashes to ashes, and dust to dust.
バカバカしい。小説の読みすぎではないがね。
Yes, why would a fucking video uploaded in 2008 possibly be from 2003? Oh my god! You know, these guys must be fucking retarded. I had enough of this shit. What the hell, man? How about you try educating yourself and then come back? Motherfucking shit. What the hell is that, man? You see that shit? Wow, 16 hours. Plus another 10 or some shit from my previous. Wait, 26 hours. Great. I'll grab my stuff. I'll stop it here for today, I think. Because I want to try my hand at recording. Never mind. I'm too lazy. Wah! I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Fucking stop the video already. Why are you still here? Fuck off.